On today's episode of Locked On Angels, we're recapping the weekend series against the Red Sox. Two really fun games and one really terrible game. Where the Angels struggled and where the Angels were successful, we're going to talk about that. It's time to get Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to get back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use our code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB, for a first deposit match of up to $100.
Happy Monday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Mike, it's our third season here at Locked On Angels. We love talking Angels baseball with you every single Monday through Friday, every weekday. Put us on in the morning on your drive to work or late at night when you're coming home, whatever it is. We love having you here as a Locked On Everydayer, and we appreciate you being here. On today's show, we're recapping each game of the weekend series against the Red Sox, and it was quite an eventful weekend, I think, Mike.
Yeah.
There was a lot to cover, so let's get to that Friday game. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Griffin Canning had some trouble early. He gave up a home run to O'Neill and then gave up back-to-back home runs to Cassis and Reese McGuire, made it 4-0 immediately in that game in the top of the second, and all of these runs came on the home run. Now, Gooby said on the TV side that Griffin Canning may have been tipping his pitches.
Felt like it.
Now, it might be the case, but Johnny, those pitches, according to StatCast, were very hittable pitches.
Yeah.
The 3 home runs came on 2 fastballs that were close to being right down the middle of the zone, and then a slider that was just right of the middle of the zone. So very hittable pitches. Of course, those are going to be crushed every time you throw in the middle of the zone. But if he was kind of tipping what he was doing, it seemed to be just in that inning, because in the first, the third, and the fourth inning, Canning was pretty clean and fairly dominant, was able to shut down the Red Sox. He came out in the 5th inning, 4 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 earned, 3 walks, which is unusual for Griffin Canning, 4 Ks, and then those 3 home runs, 91 pitches. So back-to-back starts, Johnny, for Griffin Canning, where he hasn't been the same Griffin Canning that we saw in spring training. What do you think is going through his mind? What do you think it might be? Is it a mechanical issue? Is it just who he is? What are your thoughts on Griffin Canning?
The 4 2/3 innings and 91 pitches is not going to cut it, especially as a starter, but we know that he's capable of doing better. We've seen him do better. That's why look, the very hittable pitches, of course, for the home run, but you have to think that they knew what was coming, because it just seemed like first pitch fastball, home run. And maybe he was giving that away with the fact that he was trying to hit the strike zone. So, as much as the Angels are emphasizing, hit the strike zone, get first pitch or strike one, from the first pitch, if you throw a bad one, those guys are going to be sitting on it. And so I think Mike, and this has been brought up before, I want to say a YouTube commenter, John Rodney, who comments on our videos a lot, I appreciate him. There's a learning curve with this team.
Yep.
And the fact is that year one, we might see this all season long. Year one might be the fact that these young guys are adjusting to what Barry Enright is asking of them, to adjusting to what Johnny Washington and Ron Washington and Bo Porter are asking of them, EY Sr. There might be a learning curve here. And even though these guys have been around a while, like Canning, you still see that they're struggling with the aspects of the game that they want to preach.
Yeah.
Throw in strike one, and if you throw a bad strike one, it's going to get hit out. So I can't argue with the fact that the Red Sox probably knew it was coming,
right?
Whether it was tipping pitches or the fact that the Angels are announcing to everyone who will listen,
I have to throw a strike here.
We got to throw strikes.
Yeah. Johnny, you know who was throwing strikes was Cutter Crawford.
Yeah.
That guy was dominant, right? Until about the 6th inning, the Angels were trailing by 3. It was 4-1. And then the Red Sox allowed the Angels to get back into this game. Ward reaches on an error for the second time in the game. The center fielder drops the ball. Then Drury reaches on an error at second base. The ball was grounded to third, thrown to second, and then it was dropped. And so there's some runners on first and second, nobody out. Sano gets hit by a pitch. Then Moniak lines out to third with one out. And then Logan O'Hoppe, John, hits a grand slam to tie this game. And the place went absolutely ballistic. I had some friends that texted me while they were there, and it was deafening. It was almost like Thunderstick era when he hit that grand slam. So that was great to see. And honestly, Logan O'Hoppe feels like the next leader of this team, the next Mike Trout of this team. And I'm going to share a quote later on from him. But Johnny, I really was impressed with that at bat from Logan O'Hoppe. He really worked the count, and he got his pitch, and he crushed it.
Yeah, great to see that from Logan O'Hoppe. He's got the power. He's working counts. Again, I got to check the stats again, but as of our recording on Friday, he was seeing the most pitches in the league per at bat.
Yeah.
And you see the benefits of that with that O'Hoppe grand slam. Mike, I was a little disappointed with the fact that Jose Soriano came out and gave up the lead immediately. He gave up a homer. He did that in the ninth inning too. At that point, I have to question, when you tie the game up, why don't you go to your 7, 8, 9 guys?
Yeah.
And the question I shot you over text was, are we trying to win here, or are we trying to develop? Because if we're trying to win, then you go to your 7th, 8th inning guys, 8th inning, 9th inning guys. But if you're just simply okay with trying to develop, it seems like that's what they were doing with Jose Soriano. Soriano's capable of getting through those 3 innings, but when you tie up the game and have the ability to win it, I don't understand why you don't go to the guys who can shut it down for you. So, Mike, are they trying to win, or are they trying to develop here?
I feel like they're doing both, and that's okay. I think you have to be wise in the situation that you're in. So
just not Matt wise.
No, but in that situation, I think that you have to make the decision to win the game. Similar to football, right? Like if your team is coming back and coming back and coming back, and then it's overtime, and it's either like you kick the field goal and you go to overtime, or you try to score the touchdown. There's a lot of coaches that are like, we're going for the touchdown. My team's exhausted, right?
It helps if you know the rules to overtime too.
Yes.
That's just a sore spot for me and you.
Let's not talk about that. But the truth is that Wash had his team coming back. And I think that you almost have to say to them, like, I'm with you in this, in my decision-making, I'm with you. So Matt Moore's coming in, and I'm going to bring in Esteves in this moment, especially when it was tied. And listen, with Soriano, I get that he was kind of probably stuck between a rock and a hard place here, Wash being the decision maker, because I think he was thinking about, like, what if it gets tied again, and what do I do? And I have Soriano for these innings, and they'll probably have to sit tomorrow. But I think in those moments, you have to be gutsy, especially with this young team that has come back, already hit a grand slam. Then they come back to tie it again. And then Soriano comes back out and gives up the home run, a couple of runs to put the Angels at a deficit. Here's what I loved about Logan O'Hoppe, by the way. He said that Soriano shouldn't be responsible for Duran's home run. Here's the quote. The Duran homer was completely my fault. That was the wrong pitch there. So you don't need to talk to him about it. I love that. I love that O'Hoppe's like, it's on me. I made the wrong call. This is a young guy trying to figure out how to pitch, and I'm a young catcher trying to figure out how to receive. Johnny, I'll take that every single day if these guys are going to own the loss and they recognize why they lost, instead of losing and it just falls apart, or losing because they just made a bunch of errors and didn't look like baseball players. I know they lost 8-6, but it was one of those games where it was exciting and it was good to see the players grow. I'm with you, though. I think Wash should have went for the win, because that win develops these guys more than just development. Does that make sense?
Look, I mean, you could watch that game from 100 miles away and know that it wasn't Soriano's night. And sometimes it's just not a guy's night. And so to run them out there 2 more innings, maybe you do 1 more inning,
sure,
Mike, maybe.
Yeah.
But you run them out here 2 more innings. I got to question that.
And you're coming off an off day, and you've got bullpen guys that have fresh arms. I get you. I'm with you. I think that the decision needed to be to bring in some of your key bullpen guys like Matt Moore and allow them to get you to the next inning.
Couple notes from this game. Anthony Rendon's standing ovation attempt. Well, it was a bit of a mixed reaction, but it sounded like he got a semi-standing ovation. I've seen, mixed results. But you know what drives me nuts, Mike, is he was clearly struggling. He did get a strikeout, and the there was a moment where he grounded out and he just threw his bat down in frustration. And to me, I get so I'm just over the jokes. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to play. You don't throw your bat down in frustration if you don't care. Like, you want to come through with a hit. And he actually did get his first hit in the 6th on an infield single. He had to leg that one out.
Right.
And it was like one of the highest sprint speeds he's ever had. The league average is 27, and he was at like 28.7, which is hilarious. But Ron Washington spoke about Rendon. He said, I'm not worried about Rendon getting hits. Rendon will get a lot of hits. The quality has been there. He puts the barrel on the ball quite a bit. Just doesn't have anything to show for it. I know that you guys judge him on getting base hits, but I judge on how he goes about his business and what his at-bats mean to us as a team. He's going to get his hits, and when he starts getting them, you're all going to say, when's he going to stop?
I hope so. I hope that's the case.
My favorite, Jared Weaver got to throw out the first pitch to his son, Aiden, which I loved. And by the way, Aiden is named after Nick Aidenhart, which is just really touching and really awesome. He said he's getting the itch to get back into baseball. He'd be open to a part-time role with the Angels, something where I can pop in for 5 to 10 days and show my face. How about the youngsters or something like that? Well, after this weekend, I'd love to see him work with the likes of Griffin Canning and Chase Silseth.
Right.
We also got to talk about this, and I think we'll spend more time on this maybe on tomorrow's show if we've got time, but the scoring change regarding Nolan Shawnuel, they changed what was his hit in the game against the Orioles on March 30th. They changed it. Let's see, I'm counting back. 6 days later, the scoring change after it had already been changed. So that got changed to an error. It ended his on-base streak at 30 games. There's a lot to talk about with that, especially the way that Wayne Randazzo preached on Saturday night. And we posted about it as well. But I'd love to have that conversation coming up soon.
Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. John, we're going to talk about Shawnuel also struggling at the plate. I know that his batting average is really low, but he is getting on base. There's some debate on what the Angels should do with him. I've got some thoughts. I know you've got some thoughts, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. The Angels are back at it tonight, 6:38 Pacific time, against the 5-5 Rays. So if you have any hope, it's that we're 5-4 and they're 5-5. So there you go. But you can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, Reid Detmers put on another Happy Detmers Day for us on Saturday night. And we've got the stats to show just how dominant his start was. And we'll talk about all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and they're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you can play against you and the numbers. And here's how. You pick between 2 and 6 players and decide if that player is going to produce more than or less than the projected stat. And if you get it right, you can watch the winnings roll in. It's super easy to use, Johnny. They just give you a number and then you can decide, I think you'll hit more.
Super easy, barely an inconvenience. How about that?
I love it. I love Prize Picks. Don't miss your chance to add to your favorite players from the diamond with Prize Picks entries, whether it's strikeouts or RBIs or first inning runs. You can make your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Pick entry today. Plus, you can get on all the NBA action that's happening right now and win up to 100 times your money. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports. And Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits because we know you're going to win. You're brilliant. You're a sports fan. So download the app today. Enter our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Join Prize Picks today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Every dayers, it's time to make the switch from your regular sports viewing and check out Locked On Sports Today. It's a 24/7 free sports streaming channel programmed for you to bring you every top story from across the sports world. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news. The best part is that you get the local experts of Locked On. So they're talking about their teams and they know what they're talking about. It's not the national guys talking about your team every 6th day. It's they're talking about the teams that you care about on Locked On Sports Today. It's streaming 24/7 on YouTube, on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app as well. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Angels are back at it tonight, 6:38 Pacific time at the Big A against the Tampa Bay Rays. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
How about Detmers Day? Reid Detmers pitched a heck of a game on Saturday night, Johnny. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and tied a career high with 12 strikeouts. He also struck out 12 batters against the Twins last year, May 19th, and versus Texas, July 31st, 2022. And Detmers looked so good in this game. Back-to-back starts, Johnny. Detmers threw a change and a splitter a lot in this game. In fact, we learned in Sunday's game, Gooby was talking about it, that it's the same splitter that Chase Silseth throws. And Chase said that Reid throws it better than he throws it. Reid got 11 whiffs. Yeah, 11 whiffs. It was the second highest career total, next to 12 that he had against the Orioles in his first start of this year.
There you go.
So,
I love it.
Johnny, it's time for a Buckle Up Nerds segment from John Frisch. So, Locked On Hall of Famer Brent McGuire tweeted some really great stats. Why don't you share those?
Yeah, among the 69 pitchers who've thrown at least 10 innings this season, Reid Detmers ranks first in strikeout rate at 45.2%, first in whiff rate, 41.8%, second in strikeouts with 19, second in whiffs, 38, and second in FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, at 1.11. Mike, his four-seamer in 2023 had an 878 OPS against. So guys were either doing damage on that, slugging it, or getting on base against it with a 21.2 whiff rate. This year, his four-seam fastball in 2024, a 310 OPS against, a 46.9% whiff rate, and no pitcher has generated more whiffs, 23, on their four-seam fastball than Reid Detmers this season.
Attaboy. And on the start, Detmers said first 2 starts have been pretty good, but you got to keep going. You got to keep your confidence high. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs, but I came into this year just telling myself there's always the next one. Making about 32 starts, it's always about the next one, and that's my mindset this year. Johnny, Reid's 2-0 with a 1.64 ERA, 19 strikeouts, and 11 innings. His goal is 20 wins. Seems to be well on his way, right?
He's 10% there, Mike, if you want to keep going with the stats. The Angels' offense in this one was sort of anemic in this series, except for that Friday night game. But the Red Sox out-angeled the Angels on Saturday because they've made some errors, not only on Friday. Man, who was in center field in that nonchalant catch that the Red Sox center fielder did? Just did them in. I mean, it was one of the errors on Friday night. And then it happened again in this game. Here's what I loved. Bottom 6, bases loaded. Rendon hits a ground ball to third base. Devers misplayed it. And what I thought was kind of funny was you look at what Ron Washington has been telling our infielders in terms of like stabbing the ball and getting to it. Devers was kind of in between. He didn't really know what to do with that ball, and it got past him and into left field. 2 runs scored. It gave the Halos to lead. And then Simber, Moore, and Estevez, they come in, they shut it down. Really, the only hits came against Reid Detmers. And what was that again? How many hits did he have? Was it 3 against it? Yeah, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk. And then the rest of the guys came in and they kept it close. It was really great to see that. I like those bullpen guys, Mike.
Yes.
They are a strength of this team.
Yes.
However, when the Angels are in a situation where they're struggling and behind in the game, they're bringing in the, I don't know, what would you say, the B team or
the garbage time players? It feels
the garbage time players. There you go, like the garbage pail kids. That's what. There's my next meme for Super Halo Bros, and it's just so frustrating. And so, after getting that huge win from Detmers and seeing the Angels do that, it was nice to see that even though they were pretty anemic and weren't able to string hits together when they needed to, they took advantage of the issues that the Red Sox were having, and they even did that on Friday night. Now, I would have liked to have seen a different outcome on Friday night because it ended up being 8-6 in favor of the Red Sox. But the fact is, I do like the fact that this team is taking advantage of those mistakes and really trying to string some stuff together well. Sunday's a different story, and we're going to talk about Sunday here in just a minute.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now the authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. And they're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money with tickets. And with Game Time, you get last-minute deals on tickets and save up to 60% off, not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. You can save more with the exclusive in-app flash deals on select seats ahead of the game or whatever event you're going to. You can save more on zone deals when you choose the section and let Game Time choose the seats. And then Game Time has all-in pricing. It's a feature that shows your total right up front. There's no surprise at checkout. You also get a panoramic view of where you're going to sit, so there's no surprises. You know exactly where you're going to be. And they also have the low price guarantee, and this guarantee is great. They're going to credit you 100%, 110% of the difference if you find seats in the same section for less. That's a great deal with Game Time. Plus, with every purchase, you receive Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. And now through April 14th, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Game Time app with this code, First Pitch. That's First Pitch for $20 off. You can download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Mike, Sunday's game was a total stinker, a blowout loss, just a disaster of an ending. And it didn't start out that way. Look, Silseth definitely had a better start than his first. Chase Silseth got the start in this one on the mound. Hasn't looked like the guy who took on the Dodgers lineup. Right. So maybe he just needs tougher opponents. Maybe that's what it is. No, I'm just kidding. But here's his line for the day. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 7 Ks. But the problem was he gave up 3 home runs in the top of the third, all solo home runs.
Yeah.
He did recover nicely and was able to finish the full 5 innings. But I'm concerned, same situation perhaps as Griffin Canning. I mean, I look at 2 games where there were 3 home runs hit in the same inning, and I'm just going, what are we doing here, guys?
Yeah,
so
right.
I mean, the fact that it happened again, Mike, I think kind of speaks to what we talked about in segment 1, is that there's an expectation and some really good Red Sox hitters who, if you make a mistake to, they're going to hit you out. And that seemed to be kind of the case again, just kind of knowing what to expect from the Angels starting pitchers. But really, it comes down to, hey, 5 innings, 3 runs, that's manageable. We can come back from this. We can survive that. And that's the way it was until the bullpen let him down. Jose Soriano came in, charged with 3 runs. Jose Suarez charged with 5 runs. Zuniga couldn't get an out and also gave up a run. Mike, this is the 3rd blowout game in the first 9 games. So that's a problem as well. The Orioles game was 11-3 and then 13-4. And then now against the Red Sox, 12-2. How concerned are you about this?
I think I'd be more concerned about the offense than anything, John. I know that they're 5-4, but their offense has just been kind of anemic.
Yeah.
And we saw Mike Trout hit a home run in this one. He's got 4 home runs. Yay! And 4 RBIs.
Yeah.
Right? That's not good. Now, here's the tension with Mike Trout. Is he's had opportunities with runners on, and he hasn't come through.
He had a bases loaded situation. Was that Friday or Saturday?
It was Saturday. Yeah. And so there was an excitement about what he could potentially do. But the thing that we've brought up on this show before, and it was last year when we talked about getting Trout and Ohtani to the playoffs, we did talk about, can Trout and Ohtani get Trout and Ohtani to the playoffs? Because in this circumstance, Trout's got to come through in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Trout has to get a hit in those moments. I love the home runs. Solo home runs are great, but getting a hit with the bases loaded, even better. You're the 3rd hitter in this lineup, and guys are getting on base. And it seems like we just struggle with runners in scoring position or when it matters. And Wayne Randazzo talked a lot about that on the game yesterday, where these guys just couldn't get those runners home. They had a few opportunities to knock in some runs in this game on Sunday early on that would have cut the lead and probably would have adjusted the decisions that Washington would have made in bringing in the bullpen guys.
Mm-hmm.
The offense has just been really anemic, John. And I'm not surprised by that because they didn't add and they lost Ohtani. But having some of these other guys in the lineup like Sano and Hicks, they're guys that you're just hoping are going to be really, really good. And that's the problem. hoping they're going to be really, really good, and then actually expecting them to be really, really good, there's a big difference. And Shawnuel's struggling and Neto's struggling. These guys are young. They're figuring out how to play Major League Baseball. They should be in the minors right now, right? Like that's according to how teams work. They would be minor league players, but they're in the majors because they're the best option that we have. And so I'm really nervous about the offense. I do think that it'll level out a bit. It always seems to level out, but if they keep playing and hitting like this, I mean, they could have easily been swept this weekend, but luckily the Red Sox gave us a few gifts in a few of those games, and the Angels took advantage, which I appreciated, but they need to do more of that, and they need to cause the offense to stir up a bit more.
Drury also has been terrible to start the season as well. We know he got off to a slow start last year. In fact, he got his batting title that he earned from being on the Reds and the Padres in 2022 and got the trophy in 23 before the game. And he said, I don't know if I deserve this the way that I've been hitting to start the season. And the truth is he's struggling out of the gate again. I know it's early, it's 9 games in, but Drury being there at number 5, he's not a number 5 hitter right now, Mike. Right. And I think my biggest frustration so far this season, and the one area that I've disagreed with Ron Washington, is this lineup. There's absolutely no reason why Aaron Hicks and Mickey Moniak should be in the lineup at the same time, because that means that you're facing a righty, and Aaron Hicks has no business hitting from the left side. The reason why he had 2 great games against the Marlins, hitting against lefties. And the only reason he should be in the game is either to face a lefty or he's in there in the outfield because he's displacing Mickey Moniak, who can't hit against lefties. That's one of the big reasons why I think the Angels are struggling. Number 2, Shawnuel's back up in front of Trout. I think he needs to be back at number 6, Mike. I know that they've had kind of some moderate success between the two of them, or I should say between the two versions of the lineup where he's at 2 and where he's at 6. But again, it seems like we find something that works and it's kind of clicking, and then they kind of get away from that. The other thing, I think, Joe Adell has started 3 games. Yeah. And the Angels have won all 3 of those games. And I know he's come into games later on when the Angels are kind of out of it and he's kind of been a defensive replacement or a pinch hitter. Why is he not DHing? Why is Miguel Sano constantly DHing? There's another one. Sano against lefties in the Marlins game. Perfect. Great situation. Yeah. There's so many mixes and matches that you can do with this team that I think they're overthinking it. I think it's way more simple than it needs to be. Rengifo, another one, should be in there against lefties. He's fine from the left side, but when he's batting against lefties, that's when you really see him do some damage. And Rengifo and Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak should be the guys. They should be at the top of your list when it comes to who am I going to put in today at DH or the outfield. It should come down to those guys, and unless the matchups say otherwise, those are the guys that they need to go with. But that's my frustration with the lineup so far. It just, from 1 through 9, there just isn't consistency. There are guys who are struggling. There are like Drury shouldn't be number 5. In my opinion, O'Hoppe, he should be behind Taylor Ward. And I understand it's kind of nice to have your 5, 6, 7 guys be guys who can get on in front of O'Hoppe, which is something that we did see in that Grand Slam game. But at the end of the day, he's got to make some moves. I know he said he wasn't going to change his lineup that much, but it seems like they find something that sticks and then they kind of get away with it or away from it. What are your thoughts on the lineup? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What do you think?
I agree with you. I think what I struggle with is we talked a lot about like first to third. We saw Trout get a stolen base, go first to third on Sunday. But here's what happens when you go first to third or when you're stealing bases. You know what you need to do, Johnny? You need to get on base. And that's the problem with some of these young guys right now, and even some of the veterans. They're just not getting on base. Moniak had his first hit on Sunday. And so I want to see the young guys get an opportunity. But I think like somebody like a Joe Adell needs to not be in there sporadically. He needs to be in there consistently because it's why we said send him to the minors and let him figure some things out last year. And when he was hitting consistently, we saw the results. We saw the numbers. I like Joe Adell in this lineup because he's somebody that has speed and excitement and energy. He's somebody that can go first to third. He's somebody that can steal bags. And so I'd like to see him in there a whole lot more often. I do think that they need to play the matchups a bit more, having those guys bat from the right-hand side. shows that they can be successful. So do that. And then when they aren't in there, then let's go with the lefty hitter or let's go with Joe Adell and let's keep it consistent that way. I get not changing the lineup too much, but what I would say is right-handers, here's what it looks like. Left-handers, here's what it looks like. And then stick with that so that they know what to anticipate when it's time for them to go. Because remember, Davis Daniels said on this episode, on this show, he said, when I know I'm expecting going into the game, I know what they're expecting from me, and I can plan for that. And I think some of these young guys just need to be told, like, hey, if there's a lefty, you're in.
Yeah.
Hey, if there's a righty, you're in.
Right. I 100% agree. The problem is, Mike, is just how many opportunities guys like Aaron Hicks and Miguel Sano are getting.
A lot in 9 games.
They're not going to be on the roster next year.
Yeah.
And they might not even be on the roster in June. You know what I'm saying? Like the guys that you really care about. And the perfect season to, we talk about, do we want to win or do we want to develop? You said you can do both. I think you do that with Mickey Moniak and Joe Adell. I think you can win with those guys in the lineup.
Yeah.
Mickey Moniak took 2 walks and had great at-bats. What was it, 40-something pitches between Moniak and Anthony Rendon's at-bats?
Yeah.
Like, I think they each had 2 at that point, and they worked the pitcher to death on Saturday night. And so I would like to see more of that. Like, you're right. If it's a lefty in there, then sure, put in Joe Adell, put in Luis Rengifo. If it's a righty, then you got to see Mickey Moniak in there. And I also think that Adell should be getting more DH options and even Rengifo as well. But you got to play those guys. I think this is the perfect season to do that. And that's my biggest gripe so far this season is just who's getting the playing time. When people have questioned, is there enough time to go around? Absolutely. But you got to give it to the right guys. And I don't think that Aaron Hicks and Miguel Sano need to be in there every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels play the Rays today at 6:38 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, friends, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening to today's show, come on over to YouTube, get in the comments section, hit that like button on the way down to the comments section. It really helps out Mike and I. It helps us out, our channel, all that stuff. So you're doing us a great favor by doing that. Mike, what do we have on deck for Tuesday's show?
Let's talk about Sean Noel, and let's talk about this 36-game streak that now ended at 30 because MLB went back and changed the score. And if they can do that, how come they don't do that for other things? And there's a lot to discuss. Plus, Sean Noel's struggling, but he's getting on base with walks. What should they do with him? Is he the best option? A lot of discussion happening tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
I have a lot to say about what Wayne Randazzo had to say and some fan responses to that. So get ready. I'm going to be fired up tomorrow on Locked On Angels. All right, friends, we hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
John's going to let the expletives fly.
Son of a bang, son of a boom.
A lot of exclamation points on tomorrow's show.